Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Wednesday, September 15th, and this is virtual lunch number 392. Our guest today is Rob Joyner, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Centerbase, and also a prominent artist. This is part of our continuing series on the future of law, thanks to our friends at Quizlex. Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm well, and I will speak for the group. We're doing great. We're so glad to see you. So glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about your background, your professional work at Centerbase.
Sure. My name is Rob Joyner. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing at Centerbase. I've been with Centerbase since the beginning. So we've been around for about 7 years. We're practice management, billing, and accounting for mid-sized law firms. So we work with a lot of firms up to about 150, 200 employees. It's been an awesome journey. I was not in legal before this. We stumbled in 2014 because we were looking for a fit for our technology. And what we found was a lot of attorneys were interested in new technology, but they weren't ready for the cloud yet. But we were able to develop something that's really grown to be one of the go-to products in the mid-size space. I host the Mostly Legal podcast. So I host a podcast along with Amanda Koplis, who is a board member of the ALA, and she's an executive director at a full-service firm in Florida. The premise of the podcast, we like to go behind the scenes, the people that really make the law firm operate. A lot of the times when you're talking to law firms, it's all about the attorneys are doing, and they're doing great stuff. But there's so many people behind the scenes that their job is to make the firm and the business tick. And so we wanted to highlight some of those stories and continue to build on creating places where they can come to learn more, to share their stories, and to build networks. And then finally, the reason why I was invited today was because of my art. So I started as an artist about 12 years ago. I'd like to say I have some great story of going to art school and doing all this exciting stuff, but that's not really my background. Art's always been a passion of mine, but I too didn't think I had any talent. And about 12 years ago, I was in an apartment. I was a poor college student. I was having friends over and I wanted the place to look good. And one of my buddies said, "Hey, why don't you do something yourself? Why don't you pick up a canvas and paint something?" And I said, okay. So I went to Michael's the next day. I bought a canvas, some paint, and I painted a flower. And that flower was the beginning. I wish I still had it today. I sold it for $150, but that was the beginning of it. And then I've painted on and off for years now. And when I met my wife about 5 years ago, she said, "You need to do it again. You need to get back into it. You're talented." And after a year of that, she watched me paint. She said, "Okay, you need to start selling them because we're running out of space and you have so much art." And that's really led to an awesome progression for me. I've probably placed 30 pieces, a lot in the Northeast this year. I've done everything from law firm spaces to $40 million estate homes here in Dallas to everything in between. I have two little ones. So this is a painting I did for myself. It's about 8 feet long, so it's pretty big. It's all about time management and really thinking about the things that you value and prioritizing those. So for me, I'm at the office working during the day. I have a family. And then after they go to bed, I do the art. So for me, it's just figuring out what those things really are and how they rank, and then being true to those and making sure you're spending your time in the right places. One thing I like to tell people is a lot of people, their default, when you get home, you want to relax, you go sit in front of the TV. Instead of doing that, what I like to do is I like to build in my relaxation. So I say, hey, I'm going to allot an hour or 30 minutes for myself to watch TV. And by doing that, that's helped me focus on my other goals and the other things I'm trying to prioritize instead of always doing that first. One of the things that I say is creativity helps you solve problems. It helps you come up with a lot of different solutions, whether it's being an attorney, whether it's being in sales, whether it's being an artist. So I like to bring them out there with me on the weekends. Family's number one for me. So I try not to let that be sacrificed at all. But friendships are probably what I've had to sacrifice. That sounds so bad to say, but I'm just trying to be honest. What I'm showing you right now, this is actually a folder that I send out when I'm doing a commission, and I ask people, hey, what do you like in my different paintings? A lot of times people have a hard time articulating what they want. And so by sending this out, I can gauge what they want based on the different styles. So I'll click on a few. So this is actually a 72 by 72 piece. So it's 6 foot by 6 foot piece that I'm doing for an upcoming show. I'm hosting a show here in Dallas where I'm promoting 5 other artists. So this is one of the pieces I did for the show. They're really highly textured. So the texture jumps off the canvas about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So as you're looking at the art up close, it casts different shadows. You're able to get a lot of depth and a lot of layers. And one thing I always say about the art is you can look at it for a year straight and you'll see different color combinations every day that you might not have experienced the day before. So that's one of them. This is actually the piece that got me started doing my texture like this. This piece somebody asked me to do, and he had seen a larger piece that I had, and he said, well, that won't work for me. It's too big. And so he said, scale it down and create something for me. So I created this, I posted it, and everybody fell in love with it. And so this led me down the path that I've been on this year in creating different pieces. What art allows me to do by having a career with Centerbase, a professional career and an art career, it forces me to have balance and it forces me to pay attention to different things. And when something that's a hobby, whether it's writing, art, anything creative becomes your profession, it takes a different twist, right? There's different things that go into it. I'm able to balance everything right now, although it's hard at times. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the way I'm going. So creativity is one of those things that everybody thinks that it just comes to you and you sit around and wait for that moment. But if you really start reading about creativity and training yourself and being creative, it's not. It's like anything else. It's something that you have to practice and you have to put yourself in the position to be creative. Anybody will say the morning's the best, right? You do your best work in the morning. But since having kids, a lot of my work's done at nighttime. So what I do is I try to set a few days a week that, hey, no matter what, whether I'm feeling it or not, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get going. Part of that too is you can't be scared of screwing something up. A lot of us, when we're being creative, we're scared that you don't want to mess things up. And so for me, it's just going out there and no matter what, just doing it. And that sometimes drives your creativity and that forces you to get to that place once again. The biggest compliment is when somebody says, you've inspired me to try it. You've inspired me to chase this. And some people's art is writing and some people's art is creating videos. I mean, there's so much you can do. You distill it down to just being creative, and having that creative outlet for a lot of us business professionals is big. But as far as the quote's concerned, that's tough. Sometimes I love when I see somebody copying my stuff, and sometimes I'm like, okay, you're getting a little too close. You're getting a little too close. Growing up, I always struggled with anxiety. So it wasn't something that was really talked about. I wasn't ever going to a doctor or anything like that, but I always felt anxious and a little different. And for me, creating something that was so complex, when I go out there, I'm drenched. I'm working hard. I'm moving all around. I'm not sitting down. I don't have a seat or anything. For me, it's actually soothing. For some reason, that complexity is very soothing to me. So although it has a meaning to me, it probably looks more decorative to a lot of the people I work with. And I'm okay with that. I'll create it because it makes me happy and I enjoy it. And whatever people want to do with it or wherever they want to categorize it, go ahead. That's fine. I'd probably consider myself an overachiever. I always have to work. I have a hard time on Saturday. So I have to go all the time. Having the art and having that creativity and being passionate about it lets me lean into something different and exercise a different part of my brain at nighttime, which then helps me recharge and get back to things the next day. And actually, some of my best business ideas come to me when I'm painting. I also struggle with feeling like I always have to perform. That is so hard for me. And I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, I haven't seen you post something in the last few days. Is everything all right? So feeling like you're always on and have to be on is a struggle.
Rob Joyner, everybody. Fantastic. I'm inspired, Rob. What a privilege to see your artwork, to listen to your story. Thanks to you. Thanks to Quizlex for supporting this discussion on the future of law. Rob, so wonderful to chat with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ari. Yep. It was great. Nice meeting you guys. Feel free to reach out. Would love to chat more.